Hello and welcome to Oddspedia Premier League. Last match day, final day. Tom Rennie, finally, this is gonna be over this weekend, but still, we have to know the teams that go down to the championship. How are you, Tom Rennie?
I'm doing very well. I love the season. I enjoy the season, but I got to tell you, I do enjoy when it's over as well. We can already start building up to next season, like next week as well. So, it's a perfect spot. I'm happy today. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah, we have a full summer with a lot of transfer rumors, I'm sure. So before that, let's try to make some money, guys. Remember, as always, leave your comments, tell us your tips, and of course, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And told the games to be played on Sunday, 4:30 in the UK. Tom, let's start with Arsenal Wolves. Nothing to play for, but I think these two teams should be happy with their season. Probably for Arsenal, it's a bit sad the end they are having. They were hopeful to get the title. They are losing games at the end, but when they look back, I think they have to be proud and know that they did a great season, actually.
Yeah, look, I mean, if we took the pre-season predictions for Arsenal, the goal was re-qualify for the Champions League. Don't be a Europa League club come the end of this season, and that goal has been achieved. So when it comes to basic achievement this season, what these players were asked to do, they have achieved it. The trouble, of course, is the incredible regret a lot of these players and the supporters will feel about the fact that they were, 8 points clear at the start of April, and we get to the 28th of May this weekend, the final day of the season, and they're going to not just have lost the Premier League title race, they're going to finish maybe, 8 points behind now, 8 to 11 points behind. That will be a bit of a drag. They didn't take it to the final day. They didn't take it to the final weekend. And City won the league with 3 games to spare. So it was quite the blow up from Arsenal in the end. We can talk about, people are using bottle it as a pejorative, and that's fine, whatever. And they did. I mean, that's a fact. They've had a great season, and they also blew it. They were up against an opponent, the odds were in their favour, but they still blew it. And that'll be the question for next season for Mikel Arteta. Number one, can they get back in a title race next year when you'd expect Liverpool to get better? Newcastle are going to have Champions League money. Manchester United are going to have Manchester United money. Surely Chelsea can't be this bad. On the upside, Tottenham will be in the bottom half. So one less team to face when it comes to trying to challenge for the title. So, I think in this particular game, Wolverhampton Wanderers have stayed in the Premier League because of brilliant home victories. And some of the wins they've got, Aston Villa recently, Crystal Palace recently, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea at home, beaten a lot. Away from home, they have struggled. They struggled before Lopetegui came in. They've struggled since Lopetegui has come in. And that's something, if the manager stays there next season, that's an interesting conversation going on right now with Wolves in terms of, will they be able to buy any players with some of the vast expenditure of previous seasons coming back to haunt them going into Lopetegui's first summer if he actually gets through the summer? So that'll be an interesting conversation. But on this game, don't touch Wolves because their away form has been so woeful. Plus, they have achieved their basic goal of staying in the Premier League. They are the third worst team away from home in the Premier League this season with just 2 victories. And I think Arsenal here, despite having nothing to play for, are going to want to give their fans a big, raucous, riotous, enjoyable send-off. So look at Bukayo Saka to be involved in a goal. 2 shots on target for him is around 3.5. This season, he's scored or assisted 25 goals combined. That's the most of any Arsenal player. Expect him to play. Expect 𝐜𝐵𝐽𝐸 to play. Expect Martinelli to play. Expect everyone who is fit of the golden team of this season to play and go for Arsenal. Comfortable victory. I'd be looking Asian handicap here, maybe -2. I expect at least 3, maybe 4-0 to Arsenal. A riotous, raucous, enjoyable final day at the end of a really great, yet in the end, disappointing season.
Well, okay. First bet, Arsenal to win comfortably against Wolves. I think two teams that could be happy at the end of the season. For sure, the next two teams, Aston Villa and Brighton, have to be really happy with their season because Brighton, they will play Europa League. They got a point against Man City and they are going to finish in the sixth spot. And this is great, great job for Brighton and Aston Villa. Tom, if they win this one, they will play also Conference Cup. So good job for both clubs. I think they were overachievers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brighton have been overachievers. With Aston Villa, I think the fact that they saw Unai Emery's availability were just so direct in their approach. We want this manager. There's a slight interest. We might be able to get a monumental upgrade on Steven Gerrard. And they went all out to get him. A great lesson for anyone in the future in the Premier League or elsewhere who thinks about sacking their manager. Do you have a significant upgrade that you are going to go for? If you do, go for it. If you don't, maybe don't bring in Dean Smith or Nathan Jones, for example, or maybe even Steven Gerrard falls into that category. I think Aston Villa might feel a touch disappointed considering maybe 5 weeks ago they were on a charge towards Europa League football, but I also think the Conference League, to just be in Europe, I think it's a great competition. There's a chance to win it. I think the Premier League club should be in the final every single year because of resource compared to the other nations that are in it, which West Ham are, which Leicester nearly did last season. So brilliant for Aston Villa. And we may well get, should Villa win this game, Villa, Brighton and Newcastle in European football next season. 3 new teams compared to the previous campaign. That's what happens in Spain. It's what happens in Germany. It happens in Italy, and it's great. It's happening in the Premier League this season. Let's hope the super clubs don't come back and ruin that next season with their incredible summer expenditure. In terms of this game, there's a few things to look out for. Number one is John McGinn. 7 fouls in his last 4 Premier League games. So John McGinn to commit at least 3 fouls and to get yellow carded. High on my agenda here. I think Ollie Watkins to score will be quite high on my agenda too. I know the goals have tailed off a little bit. Missed a penalty last week, which lost me a bet on Ollie Watkins, but I still think the attack revolves around him. Been very, very impressive. And for Brighton, the football they have played this season has been extraordinary. The fact that they are 3.5 to 1, around 3 to 1 to win this game, I find that strange. I know they've achieved their goal of European football, but they've got 8 wins away from home this season. It's one of the best away performances by any team in the division. So if you're looking for quite a simple bet this weekend without too much thought in it, 3 to 3.5 for Brighton to win, it's really high. I'd expect maybe 2.2, 2.4. So the fact it's 3.4, I know they played Man City on Wednesday, but they dropped a couple of players. They rotated against Manchester City. Lewis Dunk didn't play for the first time this season. So I would look at just Brighton to win at 3.5. I'll certainly be taking that myself this weekend. I can see that happening. But I think it should be a fun, thrilling, entertaining game of football. And just for the odds, I'll take Brighton.
Okay, indeed, they are the underdog, so we have good odds. If you go for both teams to score, would you like it? 1.6?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I think Brighton have a very good defence. That's the only thing that puts me off there. But the fact that Ollie Watkins, the fact that the attack has worked so well in recent months for Aston Villa, I think both teams score. I think a thrilling game. I'd even look at the over in the game as well. Over 2.5, 2-1, 3-1, something like that.
Well, another 2 teams that should be happy at the end of the season are Brentford and Man City. Brentford is still with some options to play European football after beating Spurs 3-1. They won 4 out of the last 5 games in the season. And of course, City already 1 trophy in the back, perhaps 2 more coming with the FA Cup final, with the Champions League final. Even if they rest players, Tom, we've seen in the last days that they can be very competitive and they can win everywhere.
Yes. Look, briefly on Brentford, to lose Ivan Toney, we thought, oh dear, that could be a real problem. And next season, I think it will be. He scored so many goals for him this campaign. But it's 4 wins in 5 for Brentford. And the incredible thing about it is that, look, they have had some really pliant opponents, right? What a time to play Tottenham, totally checked out of this season with Fraser Forster in goal. What a time to play West Ham the previous game, sandwiched in between their Conference League semi-finals. Great time to play Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, where Chelsea long since checked out of this season. So they have won games with caveats, but also the door's been open for them and they've smashed their way through it. So they deserve a lot of credit for it. Bryan Mbeumo, I think, is starting to get a bit of credit for just how good he is. We all focus on Ivan Toney for obvious reasons. He's incredible quality, but Mbeumo scored a couple of goals last week. Another player who stepped up from the Championship with them. He's hit the target 3 times in his last 2 games. He's scored goals. Look at Brian Mbeumo to have 2 shots on target here, 6-1. That's really long for a team who create chances and their most potent available attacking player. So if you're looking for Brentford here, that's what I'd be looking at. Plus score from a corner, bend me up from a corner to score. Look at over 6 corners for Brentford in this game as well. That's a good average for the last 6-7 games for them. As for Manchester City, FA Cup final, Champions League final, all to come. However, I think even in the game against Brighton in midweek, not the same for the Chelsea game at the weekend, still Haaland, still Kevin De Bruyne, still John Stones and Kyle Walker and Bernardo Silva and Rodri. You know, it's good. It's a good team. So I'd still expect maybe 7 or 8 of their strongest 11 to play in this game. I would still expect Manchester City to win because, as I've said all season, I thought they'd win 30 games. If they win this, it'll be 29. So I'm one short of what I was expecting. But you win 30 bets. It's rare in any market, anywhere in the world, you're going to win 30 of the 38 bets placed. So you take Man City, you take Haaland to score. I'd probably go quite low scoring considering the run of recent scores that Man City have had. So if you're going Man City, which I suggest, go the under and City win.
Is going as high as 1.9 right now. I can see Man City to win. We never see these odds, of course, with all the finals to come. This is the reason. And we are talking about teams performing well this season. Okay, let's talk about Chelsea now. Chelsea, Newcastle, the saddest season for Chelsea. Now Pochettino is arriving. You will tell me this is a good appointment. Only 1 victory in the last 10 Premier League games. On the other side, we have Newcastle, for sure, the overachievers this season. They will play Champions League. And I remember Asprilla, for instance, beating Barcelona long time ago.
Yeah. That was, funnily enough, I watched that game on TV in my old house. I'd broken my leg that day at school and my leg was in plaster. And I was in my bedroom. I got carried to my bedroom by my dad. He sat me on my bed and they brought up the big TV from downstairs to put it in my bedroom, very old-fashioned, because we had 1 TV in the house, so I could watch it in my bed with my leg in plaster, watching Asprilla score a hat-trick. And for Barcelona, double-check this, but I think the goals were scored by Figo, and I want to say Luis Enrique scored the goals.
I'm going to check it right now.
Check it. I think that's right. I just have a vivid memory. Certainly Figo definitely scored. I feel very confident of that. So yeah, look, it is great Newcastle in the Champions League. I think there is a conversation to be had about the investment of the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. There's a story in the Times this morning talking about the fact that they've found a new shirt sponsor. Oh, who is it? Oh, it's a company owned by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. So there are questions there to answer as to whether this is I'll say fair, for the want of a better word, way to own a football club. And it's owned by a country that are going to find ways to funnel that money in. But the new sponsorship deal wouldn't be possible if they hadn't qualified for the Champions League, which allows for the potential of making more money because an independent arbiter looks at the sponsors and looks at kind of market value, and you'll get more value playing in the Champions League. And so it kind of makes sense. And it's going to be interesting to see if Newcastle ever fall out of the Champions League places now. But for this season, Callum Wilson been spectacular. Joe Willock and Jacob Murphy, some of the old guard, Dan Burn, some really terrific performers this season to go with the star players and the big money signings. They have spent a lot of money, Newcastle, on the likes of Bruno Guimaraes. So I expect Newcastle to win this game. I think getting Newcastle at 2.5 is lovely here. I think they are better than Chelsea in every possible regard. And despite the fact Newcastle have achieved that Champions League ambition, I still think they will want to go to Chelsea and win this game. And if you've seen any Chelsea games recently, I watched the Nottingham Forest game, the 2-2 draw. Incredible. They got something from that game. They were so utterly outplayed. The Arsenal game, the Brentford game, very similar scenarios. Pochettino will improve them just by dint of being a football manager, because they've not had one for the best part of 3 months. When did Potter go? 3 months, 4 months? Like, ridiculous that Chelsea have allowed this to happen, this petering out of the season. It may well have financial implications moving forward if they don't qualify for the Champions League next season, which is not a given by any stretch of the imagination, considering the 4 that are in there now. And Liverpool have missed out, and Tottenham have missed out, And Brighton have missed out. They may well improve this summer. You know, West Ham have had an awful season. They've been top 6, top 7 the last couple of years. They might get back up there. You know, we could go on with the possibility of clubs who could climb the table next season. And so it's going to be very tough for Chelsea moving forward, and very tough for them in this game as well. I wouldn't touch Chelsea. There's nothing worth betting on. If anything happens, it's more likely to be incidental than something I can foresee. Maybe Raheem Sterling, 2 shots on target in these last couple of games. 2 shots on target for him is about 5-1. That might be worth your time, but I would avoid it. Newcastle at 2.5. It's a lovely bet there. I suggest take it.
Well, you were completely right, Tom. Luis Enrique and Luis Figo scored Barcelona's goals in St. James's Park in that season, 97-98. Good memory, good memory. Okay. Next game, also 2 teams that have to be happy because they are really relaxed in the last match day. They are safe. They will stay 1 season more in the Premier League. Crystal Palace, they sacked the manager Vieira at the right time. 10 points out of the last 12 at home in the season, in the last game. So very strong at Selhurst Park lately. And Nottingham Forest, as you said, absolutely safe as well. They beat Arsenal 10 points out of the last 15. Good run to end the season. Completely safe.
Yep, absolutely. I think that on Crystal Palace, that they finished 12th, I think the 3 or 4 seasons in a row now. They're currently sitting in 11th. So I expect them probably to somehow lose this game and Chelsea to get above them because they belong in 12th. It's their position, so they might find a way to navigate to 12th. But Roy Hodgson's come in and done a terrific job. He's released 𝐬𝐴𝐵𝐸, which we've been waiting for all season long. I think if you're going to back Palace here, and they're under 2s, they're 1.7, 1.8, so they're big favourites to make money out of it. You look at Eze to score or assist. I think he's outstanding and extraordinary, and I think they've already got the replacement for Wilfried Zaha that they need. Zaha will miss this game, and I think understandably, we'll be leaving Crystal Palace during the summer for pastures new. Hopefully for him, a Champions League club, and hopefully for Palace, that club is not going to be in the Premier League. I think that's most likely. So look, if you're going Palace here, you go Palace to win with Eze scoring, and you go the under 2.5. That's a 1-0. That's a 2-0 win for Crystal Palace. If you're looking for Forest, and I wouldn't advise that, their away form this season has been shocking, absolutely abysmal. 1 victory all season away from home. That was against Southampton, who, of course, have gone down bottom. Just 7 points picked up away from home. 30 picked up at the City Ground. That's why they're up, winning games at home, as they did last week against Arsenal. So, last game of the season, nothing to play for. Forest are bad at home. Easy peasy. Palace win. Go for the under.
Good odds for the under, 2.3 for under 2.5 goals. Then the game that matters the most this week. Tom, wow. Everton, Bournemouth. If Everton wins, the relegation battle is over. They send Leicester and Leeds to the Championship. And if we check the odds, the bookies are so confident. On Everton is the lowest odds this match day. Everton to win is only 1.4, 1.5. Do you think they are going to win?
Yes. I mean, I do. I do think they're going to win. But, I mean, Everton, to bet on Everton goes against all my instincts, and it's not something I'd advise anyone do. 5 home wins this season is rubbish. It's really poor. Lost the last 3 in a row. Draw before that. Their last victory at home was that 1-0 victory against Brentford, where Dwight McNeil scored in 30, 40 seconds, whatever it was, very early goal. I mean, yes, right? Like, Bournemouth have got nothing to play for. They've not got a Premier League caliber squad. I mention this to you every week. I think Gary O'Neill has done an extraordinary job to get a team with Joe Rothwell and Lloyd Kelly and some of the really bang average players they've got safe for a long time. Their April was brilliant, but since they secured safety, as you see so many times with teams, loss. And there are a couple of really bad performances in that run as well. I thought they were dismal against Man United last week and just as bad against Palace the week before that. But I don't see how Everton are going to score. That's my only thing here, because Calvert-Lewin is likely not to play. That leaves you with no striker. Neil Maupay playing for Sean Dyche makes no sense because he's not 7 foot tall, so that's out. So then you look at who plays up front for a team that desperately need a kind of knock it on to the runners guy. They haven't got anybody. So I don't know. If you're going to go Everton here, and again, I don't advise betting on this game, but if you do, you go Everton score, they get over 10 corners, and they score from a corner. You look at 𝐿𝐭𝐿𝐿, you look at Keane, you look at Mina, you look at one of the defenders scoring a goal, scoring from a header, scoring from a rebound, and they win the game. If they are going to win, they're going to win without conceding. So go for the under in this game. That's under 2.5. I wouldn't discount Bournemouth scoring the opening goal because of the nerves there will be at Goodison Park and the just awfulness of this team this season and how much they've failed to deliver on any basic promise that they have had. So, look, if you're going to bet on it, you go Everton, you go under, you go corner. That's all there is with Everton. That's all there's been for weeks and weeks on Everton. For Bournemouth at 7-1, because they're safe, I just wouldn't go for it.
Well, under 2.5 goals pays well, 2.29. Also, the bookies expect goals in Goodison Park. So let's see if Everton are able to win. If not, there is a window open for Leeds or Leicester. Leeds playing at home against Tottenham. I'm not sure if we should stay close to Leeds. They lost to West Ham. They are having a really poor end of the season. Only 2 points in the last 8 games, but who can trust also Tottenham? I think the only player you can trust in this game is Harry Kane to keep scoring, because Spurs, as you mentioned, they don't want to play European football. They just want to rebuild.
Yeah, I think that would be a wise and lucky thing if that did happen to Tottenham. They found a way to lose this game. But I mean, I went to the Leeds game last week against West Ham. I was working on the Newcastle game the week before, and I couldn't believe it was the same team. You know, against Newcastle, defensively solid, well organised, battling up for the contest, physically threatening, and they found a way to draw that game when they probably should have won it. They then went to West Ham and scored the opening goal, great Rodrigo volley, and then just kind of fell apart, really. I mean, it was the first time we'd seen West Ham all season play with any semblance or sense of freedom, with the sheer pressure that's been on West Ham for 10 months. So that could have played a part in it, plus the positivity of what happened to them a couple of nights previously. But disappointed with Leeds United. I think when they lost Bamford, Rodrigo looked injured. I think they're both missing for this game this weekend, more than likely. Maybe Allardyce will find a way to patch Rodrigo up, but no attacking threat. The midfield was a shambles. Weston McKennie has gone from the USA's best midfielder to Rory Delap long throw specialist. You know, all of it is just, it's such a mess. The squad makes no sense for the manager. The manager barely knows their first names, let alone how to get a tune out of them. And I think I just can't see Leeds winning this. I just cannot see them winning it. I can certainly see goals at both ends. So if you're going to pick a result here, go both teams to score. I think it might be quite high scoring here. For Tottenham, as you say, the only reliable element is Harry Kane. He scored in each of his last 5 away games. He scored against Leeds earlier in the season. He scored 10 headers this season. That's a Premier League record. So pick your result. I'd say draw. Both teams score. Double with Harry Kane. Look at Leeds getting over 7 corners in this match. There's money to be made. But in terms of result, I'd probably avoid it. Pick draw most likely.
Well, draw is 3.96. Both teams to score 1.5. And with some options also to stay up, slight options. Leicester City playing at home against West Ham. They have some hope because they were able to draw against Newcastle, but they are winless in the last 5. Luckily for them, I guess West Ham have their heads on the conference final, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, they will, but Leicester, I can't believe they're in this position. I really can't. You know, I know that there's been issues this season, but to be on 31 points after 37 games, you know, even maybe 8 games ago, 7 games ago, I still wouldn't have picked Leicester City to be relegated. But this run they've been on, it's 3 points from their last 5 games. In some games, Fulham, for example, they've gone all-out offense. That has not worked for them, despite the fact that the 49 goals scored this season is pretty respectable. It's the best in the bottom half. Same amount of goals scored as Aston Villa, who are 7th this season. It's the defence that's let them down. So they went all-out defence against Newcastle on Monday. They got the clean sheet by hook or by crook. They got there, but there was no really offensive threat until 𝐿𝐭𝐿𝐿's shot in the last few seconds. So don't know what Dean Smith's going to do here, to be honest. I think that West Ham is a tricky game all of a sudden. Yes, you'd want West Ham over, say, Man United or Brighton or maybe even a relegation rival because They do have nothing to play for, and they've got the Conference League. But I went to Leeds last week, the West Ham match, and as I mentioned earlier, they're suddenly playing with a freedom and confidence that has not been there all season long. I think West Ham have been in a false position all season when you consider they're able to start Lucas Paqueta and Declan Rice and Jarrod Bowen and 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐸𝗉 and 𝐬𝐿𝐴 and, 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐷𝐸𝐿 Antonio. There's some really good players at West Ham. And I think that they've underperformed massively all season. So playing against the West Ham with a bit of freedom about them, I think that could be a concern for Leicester's backline. So how does the game go? I think at 1.9, 2-1, I'd still avoid Leicester. I'd have no confidence in Leicester. They have to win this game. If the scores are level after 10, 20, 30, maybe even 45 minutes here, they have to gamble. They have to gamble on victory, and they have to hope that Bournemouth can do something at Everton. When that happens, West Ham are very good on the break. Paqueta, Fornals, Benrahma, Antonio, Bowen, as they showed last week against Leeds United. That's how West Ham set up most of last season. That's how they're very, very good. So I think the thing for me here is goals. I think there will be goals in this game. I'd go the over 2.5. I think both teams are going to score. I don't think Leicester can keep West Ham out. I think West Ham will be too good on the break. I think Leicester have got such a need to score. I think they will find a way to score. Maddison comes back in. Barnes comes back in. Both players have scored over 10 goals this season, so look at one or both of them to score. Pick a result, both teams to score. You can get Leicester to win and both teams to score at 4-1. That's really nice, but don't discount West Ham here at around 4-1 just to win it. I can certainly see late West Ham goals sending Leicester down.
Well, tell me, guys, in the comments, who do you think is going down? Everton, Leeds, or Leicester City? And who is going to stay in the Premier League? And we have 2 games left. Tom, Man United, Fulham. I'm not sure if we can label the Man United season as successful. I'm not sure. To be honest, finishing 4th in the Premier League, perhaps they win a title. Well, they won the League Cup. Perhaps they win the FA Cup. And they have the last game at home against Fulham. For sure, we can say that Fulham has been one of the best teams in the season.
Yeah, I think it's been a successful season for Manchester United. I think they've not really been in the title race. There was some talk of it maybe 3 months ago, but they were not able to push on and go on a run of wins, which City have done, which Arsenal have previously done. And that's what matters. If you're going to try and win the league, you need to go on a win of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or a City have done 12 wins in a row. And the issue with Man United has been consistency. I think they're a counter-attacking team. I think they haven't quite developed how to play dominating the football. And as we've seen with the 2 teams at the top, dominating the football is how you win the Premier League right now. And that is not Erik ten Hag or Man United's forte. So there are issues there to solve, but I do think it's been a successful season. And I do think they're going to win this game. I think that if you're looking at how they win it, Marcus Rashford should be back fit. So if Fulham press forward, Rashford to score on the break is certainly something I'd be looking at. 16 goals in the Premier League this season is a very good return for Marcus Rashford. I'd certainly be looking at that market. And the issue for Man United is that some of the additional players, the big money players, Man City can afford to buy a player for 100 million and he fails for 18 months. Man United can't do that, as we've seen for Jadon Sancho, and I think to a point Anthony as well. They've not done enough to get United into the conversation of winning the title. So take Man United here and take them to win with Rashford to score goals. For Fulham, terrific season, achieved a lot of their goals. I think this season's going to be an interesting one for them. A, can they build on the squad they have got? B, can they keep people like Palhinha, who, a bit like when players go to Brighton, I think he has gone there as a bit of a stepping stone to another club. I think Fulham bought him with that in mind. That's why he's playing there. He's been superb. Will they be able to keep him with defensive midfielders needed all over European football right now? I don't know. And Marco Silva, will he get back with money to buy players to improve on? Tim Ream's been great, but obviously 36, could need a replacement there. Someone to come in for Mitrovic when he gets inevitably suspended for 15 games next year. Needs someone better than who they've been using, Vinicius. So, for good season, don't see Fulham winning it. Go for Man United. Go low scoring, under 2.5, and Rashford the scorer.
And the last game of the season, Tom, this is it. It comes with a sad one. Southampton going to the Championship and Liverpool, for sure, underachievers. They won't play Champions League next season, and this is a big failure.
Yeah, I think it is. I would agree with that, but for the fact that a few weeks ago they were sitting in 10th. I think the Liverpool side, the deficiencies, we've spoken about them a lot. You know, the midfield needs rejuvenation. The new strikers hadn't bedded in. I think 𝐿𝐭𝐤𝐻 hasn't been good enough alongside Van Dijk, who looks slightly slower. And they've tried to find different ways to use Alexander-Arnold, who is just simply not a right back, something we've known for years and years and years. And they may have found a position for him, which is essentially what Guardiola's been doing with his fullbacks for 4 or 5 seasons. So Southampton, I won't give you too much analysis. It's been a bad year. They've got a bad squad and they're going down. That's all you need to know. In this game, Liverpool win. I think it's going to be quite comfortable as well. I'd go the over 2.5. I'd expect 3. I'd expect 4. I might even expect 5-0 here for Liverpool. Go big, big, big. Double it up with Alexander-Arnold to have an assist. Double it with Firmino to score a goal. His last ever game for Liverpool. I expect him to start this match. And if not, come on and have a significant role in it. Over, over, over. Big Liverpool win.
Poor Southampton. Poor Southampton. What to say about them? Well, if you go, for instance, Asian handicap minus 1.5 for Liverpool pays 2.10. Tom, this is over. We started before the World Cup. We started before, I don't know, before it was cold again. We started a long time ago, and this is it. We only need your safe bet.
You're not going to believe this.
Not Man City?
I'm not doing Man City as my safe bet. Ooh. I'm not doing it because I just wanted to give people something different. Just for this one. You can still do Man City because they're going to win. But I actually think the safe bet this weekend is Arsenal. Arsenal to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers. It's going to be a big, fun, raucous send-off to what has been a great season. Leave everyone leaving Emirates Stadium with a smile on a high, and they're going to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are statistically one of the worst teams away from home in the league this season.
Different doesn't mean better, we have to say.
That's true.
We have better odds for Arsenal.
We've all said that to our wives when they're going to leave us. So, fair enough.
And the ACCA?
My ACCA is a 3-team victory ACCA. It comes in at around 3.5. Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City all to win.
Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure sharing the season with you. I ask our viewers to share, of course, the videos and tell us in the comments what they want to see next season. Perhaps they don't want me. They want 𝐿𝐭𝐿𝐴 back, Captain Haddock back in your background. There are so many items that they can add to the conversation. So, Tom, thanks again for this season. Bye-bye.